Hey guys, this is Jared with Hunt Nashville. This is an interview I did with a buddy of ours, David Peel, who has a company called Extreme Outdoors. Has a cool backstory, has some cool stuff he's been doing recently. I think you might be interested in. I apologize for the audio at the beginning and intermittently throughout. It blows out a little bit. I was trying out a new microphone and a new recording system and just didn't do my due diligence of checking everything as we went. So I'll try not to let it happen again, but I still think the interview is something worth taking a listen to. So with that said, take a listen. Hey guys, this is Jared with Hunt Nashville. I'm here with my buddy, David Peel. David is he's an owner of Extreme Outdoors, which for a long time, and maybe still, created and sold hunting products.
Correct.
Kind of give me a background of how you got into that.
Okay. Well, by trade, I'm an engineer, and I work for the Department of Defense, and I've been doing pretty much a lot of design work. That's what I do all day, every day, and that's what I like to do.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. I have a job I actually like.
Right.
That doesn't always happen that way.
No, absolutely.
But I also, passionate about hunting.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been the one that would buy a product and think, boy, if they would have just done this, or
Right.
if they would have just done that, or they could have added this or that, and boy, it would be so much better. So I kind of had a few products that I hadn't messed around with, and turkey hunting is my passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a couple turkey call products that I developed, and one of them was the box call that has the interchangeable strikers or paddles. We was the first ones to patent that.
Right.
There's been a few knockoffs of that since, but that's just the way all industries are. It doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Right.
So we were the first one to really, I say, change the box call up a little bit since it was first invented.
Because it's essentially been the same for 100 years.
It has been.
It hasn't changed a whole lot,
No.
short of adding chalk to it, probably.
Right. People put a hole in the side or
Right.
a little tweak or a little this or that, but essentially it's been, the same since. So that design, that idea kind of came about in a unique way. I guess maybe this is a good opportunity to tell that story.
No, I'd like to hear it. I never heard the backstory. We got hooked up. We're at the NWTF convention right now, and that's where we're meeting up to do this because David was in town, and it's not far from the house. And so we met up maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
It's probably been longer than that.
It's been longer than that?
Been
Wow.
6, 7
Good
probably is.
Lord. So we stopped by David's booth, and we kind of come to the convention every year just to kind of see if anything's new. We don't come do a full coverage, just if we see something we like that's new. We want to talk to the people that made it, and it's usually smaller companies, generally speaking. And so we walked by your booth the first time, and we saw the box call, and we saw the stabilizer. I think it was that year that you had the stabilizer and the box call out. And the box call we didn't spend a lot of time with the box call. The stabilizer really intrigued us because of the Picatinny rail on it where you could attach a GoPro and that kind of thing, because we were doing a lot of self-filmed hunts, and it was almost impossible to get a good angle on a bow, especially from that kind of thing. So anyways, that's where we got hooked up and met and kind of struck up a friendship from there, and just have stayed in contact, see each other just about every year at the NWTF convention. But you don't have a booth this year, do you?
No, we don't.
Is this your first year not having one?
Last year was the first year we didn't have one.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that a little bit more because we've licensed some of our products out, and for us that's probably a better avenue for what we're doing.
So you got to get to inventing so you can have something to sell.
Exactly.
So yeah, give me the background of how you came up with that design.
So we're focusing on the interchangeable box call paddle striker right now. And anyway, my father and I we were actually hunting in Kentucky. We came down I'm actually from Indiana, so the nice thing, I'm only about an hour and a half from Kentucky border. So Kentucky's turkey season always came in a week and a half before ours did. So, hour and a half drive, we can pick up a whole nother season.
Which is huge.
It's not conflicting with trying to get a bird in Indiana. So we probably for 15 straight years I would say I graduated from engineering school in '93. I think that spring, though the next spring was the first year that we came to Kentucky, and we did it for 15, 16 straight years.
Wow.
And we were on public ground. And I would have to say that's probably where I really learned to turkey hunt.
Really?
You get on public ground,
Oh,
and it's pretty tough. We were down there in the Madisonville, Kentucky area, in the Peabody ground. There's a lot of hunters.
Yeah.
You know, if you can routinely kill birds in there, you're good to go anywhere.
Well, and that's a big, like, here we, I hunt what's called the Cheatham WMA here, which is about 22,000 acres. And there's a lot of pressure during turkey season. I hunted that place. We killed one bird opening day of the first year we hunted there, and I didn't kill a bird for 6 years out there. And I turkey hunt quite a bit.
Right.
And then year before last, I killed 3 birds out there. It was just like, for some reason, I guess the stars lined up for sure, and I got a lot of luck involved, because any turkey hunter that tells you it's all skill is a liar, or he's never been turkey hunting before.
Right.
A lot of luck was involved, but I feel like that year I started to figure out a little more of how birds act on public land as opposed to private, because we've got a ton of private land around here, and it's a completely different ball game. It's like hunting a different animal.
It is. It's completely different. So I would say that's probably where I really learned to turkey hunt, and I'm kind of thankful that I didn't always just have a little private spot in Indiana, and I killed a bird there every year.
Right.
And you really wouldn't have any idea what it's really like. But those birds down there, I mean, sometimes you can kill a bird and they won't gobble one time.
Wow.
I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
But anyway, my father and I, we were down there hunting in Kentucky, and it was kind of one of those mornings where some birds gobbled on the roost, couldn't get anything really too interested. Heard some hens. They kind of got henned up. You know the story. Something everybody experiences. So we're in the middle of the morning, and there's a lot of spoil banks. That Peabody ground down there. Some of it's this old mine, and it hasn't been reclaimed. So there's a lot of spoil banks down there, or at least what we call spoil banks in Indiana. I guess that's a universal term, which is just small hills and long hills from the way they mined the coal and piled it back up. And that, I don't know how old that ground is down there, but I'm saying it's 60 years.
Wow. They've been out
50,
there for a
60
while.
years, yeah.
Right.
So it's wooded.
Right.
So those spoils are wooded. So my father and I were kind of going along those spoil banks, parallel with them. I'll get on top of one and kind of go down. And, some of them run a long ways, maybe even half mile or something like that. So we're just doing some blind calling, stop, try to see if we can't get anything interested. And, I have a slate call, my dad has a box call, and I have a mouth call in, and we'll go 100 yards and kind of stop. And he'll hit his box call, and we'll listen, nothing. I'll try my diaphragm, just a different tone, see if we can't get something, fired up, nothing. I'll hit the pot call, nothing, we'll move. Same old drill that everybody's done. Trying to find a bird that wants to talk and find a call he likes, kind of thing,
Yeah, it seems
what
like
else
a
are you
wild.
gonna do?
It's a wild goose. It's a wild turkey chase.
Yeah.
Most mornings of turkey season, chasing a bird that doesn't exist. It seems like.
So my father and I were doing that, and we stop and go through that whole routine, and really nothing. And I get some water out of my bag and take a drink of water, and my dad reaches there and he's like, "Hey, I think I'll just try this box call." And I don't even remember what brand it was, and he hit that thing, and boy, as soon as he did, boom, gobble. And we had went through a box call, a diaphragm, and a pot, and the bird did nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was almost like, did we just really hear that? I mean, we didn't even believe it at first. So I hit my diaphragm, nothing. My dad hits that box call. Oh, he loved that box call. And the second time he gobbled, I told my dad, I was like, I think that thing's closer.
Wow.
He said, I think it is too already. I said, let me have that. I said, you get up, sometimes when I'm hunting with my father, he'll be up 30 yards in front of me, and I'll be back kind of thing, I said, he answered your call, so this is your bird. So he gets up there and gets set up, and I go back there, and just for the heck of it, I try my diaphragm again, nothing. I try that boss call, and he freaking cuts me off. It was real, and that sometimes turkey hunting is like fishing when they're not biting. You have to find just the right lure, and that about turkey hunting. But even though I knew that, it just was like, I cannot believe this is the only thing this bird likes.
Yeah.
He doesn't like anything. I mean,
It's
he wouldn't
crazy.
answer anything.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting back there, and I didn't really carry many box calls because I'm kind of the light
Yeah.
and run and gun, and box calls also chirp when they're in your bag, and it always irritated me.
Right.
So, I mean, I do carry box calls, but I would carry maybe one.
Right.
So I'm sitting back there, and I'm thinking, wow, there needs to be a box call that's more universal, a box call where you're not just stuck with that one sound, And so I'm still working the bird, but in the back of my mind, my wheels are turning like, how could I make a multi-use box call or something, I'm thinking, So I kind of have that in my mind, and anyway, make a long story short, that bird came in, and my dad whacked it, and I'm telling you, that was a super slow morning.
Right.
And it was just like, that was a eureka moment right there.
Right.
So we get back from Kentucky, and I still have this in my mind when I go to sleep or driving back home, kind of thinking about how to do it. And so I get back home, and I get in the shop and start working on how to make that striker removable and put it back on real quick. Started out with some magnets, even got rare earth magnets. They're really strong.
Yeah.
And that worked okay. But in my mind, I thought, I'm not sure a hunter is going to feel cool about a magnet.
Right.
I think it's going to be a mental thing. They're going to think, boy, if it's windy and I got to really get on that box call, that magnet's going to fly off. And so I thought maybe psychologically that just wasn't going to be the best design. So I got away from that and got into more like a positive lock snap paddle system. So we designed that, and I filed for a patent, and we had patent pending, and we came down to the NWTF convention, and I think it was either 2009 or 2010.
Okay.
And that was the only product we had.
Oh, wow.
And we're just, some little yahoo over in the corner. And the weird thing about it is we sold 3 calls that whole weekend.
Oh, wow.
That was it.
Which doesn't quite cover the entrance fee.
No, it
And
didn't.
the gas and the hotel.
And I'm telling you,
and
that
everything.
left a mark. It was like,
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
you have a good idea, and sometimes in my mind I thought, I know that's a good idea, but maybe I'm looking through rose-colored glasses.
Right.
Maybe it really isn't.
Maybe it's just really good to me.
Yeah.
Right.
So I kind of dusted myself off, and I had a lot of people still encouraging me. He's like, no, that is a great idea. That's a very innovative box call. I had some top call makers even stop, and they called me at home, the following weeks, and it's like, hey, I talked to your father. I heard it didn't go good, but don't give up.
Right.
Stick in there. And I will say, being an engineer, from a technical standpoint, that call was really slick, how I had the design.
Yeah.
But from a turkey call standpoint, I'm not sure I had really refined the musical instrument part of the call.
Right.
So going back and getting some of my very first calls, I'm not really sure they sounded that great.
Gotcha.
They sounded okay.
Right.
And, I used them, and we killed turkeys, but I'm not really sure that the sound was, high end like really I thought they should be.
Right.
So I then started to learn more about how to make a turkey call, a box call, and because I thought I had the ultimate design, I thought if I can just make my box call sound really high end, and I've got it whipped. So guy by the name of Dale Rome Brothers Calls. They've been coming down to the convention for years. We had become friends with them because actually my father has been coming to this for probably 25 years or so.
Oh, okay.
And he knows a lot of call makers. He's actually a collector of box calls.
Okay.
So we know a lot of people in the industry from that. So Dale Rome calls me, and he's kind of like the tough love guy. He's like, you know what? The reason you didn't sell very many calls is your sound just needs to be a little bit better.
Right.
He said, your design from the engineering standpoint is it's the most innovative box call that I guarantee you is down at the NWTF convention. But
Right.
it's kind of like if your car looks, if you're a great painter
Right.
and it has a great paint job but it won't run,
Right.
What
good is it?
What good is it? So he actually helped me. He took a couple. I sent him a couple box calls, and he did some tweaking on them. Called me and said, here's the situation with your volume.
Right.
And explained a little bit of that. We talked about how to select the wood a little
Right.
bit better, so I could get a better cut on my wood, which made this. And we came back the next year, and those suckers were spot on. I mean,
That's
they
awesome.
sounded great. And so really, all I had to do was tweak my volume and how I picked my wood, things I
Right.
didn't know.
Right.
Because I wasn't really a great box call maker.
Right.
I had a great idea to put on a box call.
Right.
So I kind of refined that, and then we started doing a lot better. So that's kind of how that all evolved. And then in 2015, Night in Hell approached me about licensing my patent.
Right.
And that happened at the end of 2015, so we signed an exclusive deal with them.
Right.
So that meant I couldn't make it anymore,
Right.
which was fine. So we signed an exclusive deal with them, and they came out in 2016 with the Switchblade, and that did pretty good in the first year. They since put that call and that design in 2017 on a new call called the Razor's Edge.
Okay.
And they have signed Waddell as well.
Okay.
He's branding the Night in Hell brand now.
That's awesome.
And the Razor's Edge is kind of Waddy's, call.
I gotcha.
It has aluminum on one side, which gives it a higher pitched, a more crispy,
Right.
gravelly sound.
Cut through the wind a little
Right. But they use the interchangeable paddle
Oh, okay.
concept on that as well. So now they have that design on two calls
bit. That's awesome.
for 2016 and 2017.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah,
So
I
that's
just saw
kinda
the.
how that evolved.
I don't think no, I take that back. I did see. I saw a Switchblade in a store last year, and I saw it in a store, and I feel like I texted you or
You did.
emailed you or something. I was like, "Hey, man, just letting you know, somebody has kind of stolen your idea," and he was like, "Oh no, that is my idea." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I remember you was kind of concerned. You're like,
I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm just letting you know. You might
Yeah.
want to check in with these Night in Hell guys." And he's like, "No." He's like, they're supposed to be using." I was like, "Oh, well, that's awesome."
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, tell me, I guess, give me a little bit of your backstory as far as how you got into hunting initially. Is it because mine's pretty the traditional. Grew up, dad hunted, took me out, but he stopped hunting about when I was 10 because he's got 3 kids and he just the time was too much, and so I didn't really hunt again until I was 15. And I had a family friend that just kind of started taking me, and it started from there. So, how did you start out, and what did you start out with?
Well, mine's kind of the traditional thing. My father hunted, and my grandpa, which actually passed away when my dad was a senior in high school, I obviously never met my grandpa,
Right.
but he did a little bit of rabbit hunting, but
Okay.
they never did deer or turkey or anything like that. So my father kind of grew up with a rabbit hunting background.
Okay, awesome.
And when I was a little kid, we had rabbit dogs, and that was kind of my dad's main
Right.
hunting. But he also he started deer hunting, and then he got me deer hunting. There were no turkeys in my county,
Really?
in Indiana,
Wow.
growing up.
Okay.
Probably the NWTF did some transplanting in our county, and there was a push in the DNR to get some turkeys in our county. And I don't really remember exactly when that was, but I'm going to say early 90s is kind of when that happened.
Right.
But we were already turkey hunting. We had to drive to 2 counties over
Gotcha.
to turkey hunt. So, going through high school, my dad was turkey hunting, and we were deer hunting. And I killed my first deer with a bow when I was 16. It was a little 6-pointer, but to me, it was
Oh,
Boone
yeah.
and Crockett,
Yeah, my first deer was with
Off
a
the
bow when I was
charts.
15, and it was a doe, and I was elated.
Yeah. So, I had the deer hunting going, and we started turkey hunting, but obviously when I'm still in high school and I played football, basketball, and track,
Okay.
so we had, for weekends there was games,
Right.
and I didn't get a lot of turkey hunting in. Sometimes Saturday would be free. We wouldn't
Right.
have a basketball or a track or something on a Saturday, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd go with my dad. But, through high school, I was probably lucky, with the 2.5 week, 3 week turkey season, I was probably lucky if I
Yeah.
went twice.
Oh, yeah.
And since we couldn't even go in the backyard per se, we had to drive,
Yeah.
hour or
And turkey
so.
hunting's not an easy thing to do if you're only going to go a couple times. It's doable. I've killed turkeys I only went turkey hunting twice last year, and I killed a bird the last day. But it's the odds are stacked against you if you're only going to go a couple times because you get no chance to figure out the birds at all.
No, and we were relatively new at turkey hunting.
Right.
I especially was. My dad had killed a few turkeys by then, but he hadn't really been turkey hunting a long time, like he
Right.
had been deer hunting a lot longer, and rabbits, obviously, for a real long time. So the turkey hunting was even new to him, somewhat. So we weren't, real proficient then.
Right.
So that's kind of how I got started turkey hunting, and we started through college, being in engineering school. I mean, that's pretty taxing on your time as well.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
So, I did get a little more turkey hunting in going through college, which was from 89 to 93. And then I killed my first turkey that first spring I got out of college, because that was really the first time I really got the go, if you
Right,
will.
right.
Not saying I didn't go, but it'd be a couple times and that was it. And
Right.
it might be the first day and it might not be till the last day.
Right.
Well, you know how things really change,
Uh-huh.
So really didn't have any kind of consistency. But the first time we went, my dad and I, and that bird gobbled on the roost, and the hairs stood up on
Oh,
my
yeah.
neck, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
I think I love this. And we had a little duel, and I actually saw the turkey. We didn't get a shot, but it was one of those good mornings you thought, boy, that was really fun, even though I didn't get anything.
Right.
I think I was lucky enough to have that experience the very first time we went. And I thought, man, I think it's something I like.
Yeah. Well, it's like turkey hunting it's something hard to explain if you've never been before, because it's not like anything else you do. But on my hierarchy of hunting, I get a lot of people that are, we get a lot of questions because we do a lot of tips and stuff on YouTube, and they're like, what should I start out with, or how do I do this, this, and this? And my three main is like, go dove hunting first. Find somebody to go dove hunting with, because you don't have to be quiet, you don't have to wear camo, talk loud,
Right.
go eat hot dogs and drink beer at lunch. It's very much a social thing. Shoot a ton. You might not hit anything, but you'll shoot 3 boxes of shells and
Right.
you'll get to have fun. And then go turkey hunting, because I've seen people jump, and close friends of mine jump right into whitetail hunting, into deer hunting, and it's such a patience game. At least in the east, and the same where you are. It's not like out west where you go spot and stalk
Right.
and you can walk 14 miles before you find one, or walk 14 miles to get the one you want. But you sit for 5 hours in the morning, you might not see a deer. I mean, there's a good likelihood you won't see a deer. You'll either see no deer or you'll see a ton, it seems. So turkey hunting is right in that sweet spot where you gotta be quiet, you have to be skilled, but if you can go with someone who knows what they're doing, it's a lot of walking, so there's never really anything boring. And if you're in any kind of good spot, you'll almost always at least hear birds.
Right.
You might not get anywhere close to them. They may
Right.
be in the next county, but you'll always at least hear birds,
Right.
which is something that keeps people kind of coming back. So
I agree.
and I think that's why I'm in love with it. It's fun, it's more challenging and all that kind of stuff, but I just really enjoy taking new people turkey hunting, because
Right.
just to see them experience that thing of we didn't see anything this morning, but I heard 4 gobblers on 4 different ridges, and they're there. You don't have to assume.
I mean, I think you hit on a good point of turkey hunting. I think it's you feel like you're always in the game,
Yeah.
maybe, because you hear some
You
birds,
have a
and they
chance.
might even be 200 or 300 yards away. They might be henned up,
Right.
and they might give you the slip, and you may feel like an idiot, but sometimes you go deer. I mean, I've had a lot of daylight to darks where I go and sit daylight
yeah.
to dark, and I thought I didn't see anything.
Uh-huh.
And although I do enjoy it,
Yeah.
you kind of feel like, man, I kind of wasted the day
Right.
a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit. I'm not
What
really
am I
saying it's a
doing
total
wrong?
waste,
Right.
but because there is some serenity of just being in the wildlife,
Oh, yeah,
and you see some
absolutely.
stuff. But you do that a few days in a row, you're not real upset
It's
that you
not
didn't
super
kill one,
rewarding.
but it's like,
Right.
I mean, I didn't even see anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that does start to weigh
I could
on
probably count on one hand the amount of times I've been turkey hunting and didn't at least hear a gobbler.
Yeah.
And short of like super rainy days where I probably shouldn't have gone in the first place.
Right.
But I can probably count on one hand, and I've been turkey hunting for 16 years, and I turkey hunt a lot during the season. The last season's the only year I didn't go, 15 times. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a great way to get people into hunting, and I think it's that kind of like every morning, it's like, what's going to happen? It's like the sun's barely cracking.
Right.
You're like, what's going to happen? Is he going to be 100 yards from me? Is he going to be 1,000 yards
Right.
from me? Am I going to hear him now, or am I going to hear him at 10? There's just no telling. But it's the anticipation of it going, and I mean, it's freaking killer exercise. I mean,
It
out
is.
in here, and we hunt at the WMAs here, which is our public land. I mean, I'll walk 5 or 7 miles easily
Oh,
in
yeah.
the morning. Hunt until 11 o'clock. That's not
Right.
even going all day.
I don't
Because if
have
you
a-
don't hear anything, just go.
I don't have a Fitbit, but I've thought about getting one just
I
for-
keep up with it on my phone sometimes, yeah. Because
Just to
I'll go
see.
back and see my track and see how far I went. I'm like, golly. I go 3 times a week, and I run Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I go run 5 miles at like 5:30 in the morning before the kids get up and before the whole day gets started. Went this morning, and I'm regretting it because I walked the convention floor. And
Right.
I wish I wouldn't have gone this morning. But even like you get out and like hike up and down mountains and running through creeks and down roads and through timber and brush, and I don't know, it's just something about it. Like even if I don't see a flipping bird, I feel like I've spent my day well,
Right.
which is something you don't get on some other types of hunting every time.
Yeah, as far as turkey hunting, so I've kind of went the full spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I started out in high school living in a county that didn't even have turkeys,
Wow, yeah.
and you had to drive a county or two over to get to turkeys.
Mm-hmm.
To having conflict just with school and sports to the pendulum has swung completely the entire other way.
Right.
That I'm going down to the Yucatan in March to hopefully harvest an oscillated
Which
turkey,
is
and if I do
awesome.
that, we'll complete my World Slam.
That's amazing. So,
So-
Grand Slam, when did you finish the Grand Slam? The
Let's
US Grand
see,
Slam?
I did that 3 years ago.
Okay. What'd you finish up with?
Miriam.
And you started out with Easterns, I'm
Yeah,
assuming?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I had 25, 30 or so Easterns, 40
Right.
Easterns. I don't know, even really know how
Right.
many turkeys. Something like that before I started the World Slam. And my dad's 74 this year, and he had talked about for years wanting to do the Grand Slam,
Yeah.
which is the 4 turkeys in the United
That's
States.
still on my list because I've only killed Easterns.
And he kept talking about that, and finally I got to a point in my life, I had a good job, I was kind of in a senior position there, I had some vacation, and I told my dad finally, I was like, why don't we just quit talking about doing this Grand Slam?
Uh-huh.
Let's just go do it.
Yeah.
What do you think? And I thought, he's not getting any younger. So we kind of decided to do that. We pulled in 2 of our good buddies. They kind of wanted to do it with us.
Uh-huh.
So we went and we had an Eastern. The first bird we got was a Rio in Kansas.
Okay.
And then we ended up going to Florida and
Right.
getting the Osceola the next year. The next year after that, we didn't go anywhere. We was kind of saving our money and recouping from 2 trips in a row,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then we went to Wyoming and got a Miriam.
I got your Miriam.
And that
Did
was
you-
3 years ago, I think.
Did you guys just go self-guided hunts, or did y'all go with outfitters, or hire a guide, or how did y'all do that?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
The Osceola, in Florida, we went on a ranch, but we didn't have any guides.
Okay.
That's kind of how so it was kind of they called it sort of a semi-guided
There's
deal.
birds here, but you got to
Right.
go find them.
And, we they took us around, said, this ridge is good, and,
Right.
So on and so forth. You kind of need a little bit of that.
Yeah.
or
We don't want
you-
to have to spend a week just figuring out where they are.
Exactly.
Because it's
Exactly.
expensive.
Exactly.
just to
So
stay somewhere and be
there's
gone.
some point that it's almost worth at least having something like
Right.
that. And, I mean, I have a week's vacation and I got to get back to work, so
Yeah.
I can't be spending 3-4 days on public ground even trying to find out where to go.
Right.
Sometimes. So we did that, and we got the Osceola. The Rio hunt was similar to that. We didn't really have a guide with us, but it was a semi-guided hunt. We stayed at their lodge and ate their food, and they kind of drove us around and showed us where some birds were, took us and dropped us off.
Right.
We didn't really pay for the full-time guy, because
Okay.
like, if you just get me to where birds are, we know what to do.
Right.
You know, we
We've
just need
turkey
to,
hunted.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, we just need to kind of streamline all that,
Right.
figuring out where they are.
Do a
and
lot
we
of the
don't know-
legwork for you.
Don't know the terrain.
Right.
And, you know, and it was kind of helpful. They'd say, well, there's birds on this ridge, but you know, way down here on the end, there's a big creek. They don't like to cross that. Which, if that's places you hunt, you know that. But
Yeah.
if you've never been there before,
You find out that morning.
yeah, well,
When
you're
you
sitting
can't get
there
them to come
calling
across.
birds and they won't come.
They're
and
coming.
then
They're
you get-
coming. They're not there anymore.
Then you get up and you move 50 yards. It's like, oh, I didn't know there's a creek here.
right there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I just wasted
You
one
don't
whole
see
morning.
before daylight.
Right.
Right.
So you kind of, you sort of fast track some of that stuff you don't know.
Yeah.
And so we did that with the Rio, and then we went to 7J Outfitters in
Okay.
Wyoming.
Yeah.
Great guys out there. They have a first-class operation.
Okay.
You get in Wyoming, that's pretty vast out there.
Wide open country.
Yeah. So we did have the guides there.
Mm-hmm.
By then, my dad's getting a little bit older too, because we've been trying to do this for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And I think he was 69, maybe 69 or 70 when
Okay.
he finished his Grand Slam. And, it's kind of getting to the point where let's just go ahead and get the guide, give us a better chance.
Right.
We're in Wyoming for 3 days. And that's what we did. So my dad we all got one.
That's awesome.
Since we're in Wyoming, you can only kill one bird, but
Okay.
where 7J's is, they're pretty close to South Dakota.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to say maybe 20 miles from
Oh, wow.
South Dakota. So we got South Dakota tags too.
Mm-hmm.
I killed a bird on the first day, so then I left Wyoming and would ride over to South Dakota
Oh,
the
wow.
next day and killed a bird over there the first day.
Oh, that's
And that
awesome.
was actually on public ground.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they had some private ground too, but there's a lot of public, and they said, hey, we know this public ground here's pretty good, and we've killed birds here. You want us to go give that a shot? I'm like, that's fine with me.
Are Miriam's as vocal as Easterns are, or more or less?
They are.
About the
I'd
same.
say close to the same. What really surprised me was how much farther they would come.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they're used to covering that much
Right.
ground. Wow.
My kind of go-to statement on an Eastern is, you need to get 150,
Oh, yeah.
even 100
Get uncomfortably
yards.
close.
Yeah, if you can,
Uh-huh.
to seal the deal. But the Miriams, we first set up, I'm sitting there thinking, could we get a little closer?
Right.
But they'll come a good ways.
Wow.
Just got to kind of stay with it. Mm-hmm. So we finished that up. So we have the Grand Slam. So we're coming back from Wyoming, and I'm thinking, man, 2 more birds, and we could have the World Slam. It's
Right.
sort of, why stop now?
Mm-hmm.
So talked it over with the other guys. My dad, he didn't really want to do the World Slam. I don't know if it just has to do with his age. He just didn't want to do traveling to
fine with getting
Mexico.
here, yeah.
And I think it was his bucket list thing. He wanted to do the Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
So me and the other 2 guys, we decided we're going to go ahead and do the World Slam.
Okay.
Pulled in another buddy. He wanted to do it with us too. He only lacked a Rio and a Osceola. So we went and got him a Rio last year.
Okay.
But the year, I'm kind of getting a little bit out of
That's fine.
sorts here. He went with us down to Mexico to kill a gould, and he did not have a Rio or Osceola yet.
Oh, wow. So he got a goal before he killed those.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we came back last year. We went and got him out in Kansas on public ground.
Rio.
Killed a Rio. So he just needs the Oscillated
Uh-huh.
and the
And the
Osceola,
Osceola.
which is in Florida.
Right.
So we're all 4 going in March to try to complete the World Slam, but he still has
He
the
still has to go to
Osceola.
Florida.
So actually, what's cool is he's going to Florida
Uh-huh.
to try to get an Osceola before we go, because he
Wow.
wants
So
to
y'all can do
finish
it at
up.
the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
That's really cool.
So, yeah, we're going down there. The Goulds, they will travel. You will not believe how far they'll
Really?
travel. We set up on a Gould down there. We hunted in the Sierra Madre Mountains, which is the Rockies that go ahead on down into Mexico, basically.
Right.
We flew in Chihuahua. We went with El Halcon. You really can't go down there without a full outfit.
Right.
you'd just be lost. I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Plus, I think you can get in some areas maybe you're not supposed to be in.
Right. You won't be the hunter.
Yeah. So we went with El Halcoon, total top shelf all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Very fair, equitable price for doing it.
Wow.
No hidden fees. You don't get down there. It's like, oh well, to pick you up at the airport, that's $100, or
Right.
to do the. I mean, it
You
was,
wanted 3 meals a day.
Yeah. I mean, they were great. I mean,
Awesome.
they were top shelf, honest. You knew what you was getting charged before, and there
Awesome.
was no ridiculous stuff afterwards.
Right.
They also know that a lot of Americans are a little uncomfortable with going to Mexico.
Yeah.
They're aware of that. So, I mean, as soon as we got off the plane, and of course you have to go through the customs by yourself, but as soon as we got through customs, bam, they're right there waiting for
That's
us.
awesome.
So that kind of makes you feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we are hunt. They have somebody with you the whole time you're hunting. They took us back to the airport. They went into the airport with us. They helped us check our bags in.
Wow.
Took us all the way to the point where they couldn't go past security.
Mm-hmm.
So we never was left alone to figure out anything on our own
Right.
in Mexico.
That's
which was
awesome.
great.
That's really good.
But the Goulds, Manuel and I, we set up on a Gould the very first morning, and it's pretty mountainous and it's rough.
Oh,
And this Gould, I mean, it had to be a half a mile away.
Really?
And we started calling, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, we're pretty far away. I don't think this is ever going to happen. But we just kept calling, and it just kept coming, and it kept coming, and I thought, that thing is getting closer and closer
Wow.
and closer. It was up on the side of a mountain, and we was kind of down on this plateau, and it finally came to us, and it took a good solid hour.
Really?
And this was a bird that was coming to you.
That's amazing.
Where if you're 100, 150 yards at home, when you get a bird that's hot and he's coming, it's 10 minutes, or something like that. And
He's in front of you before you got your gun up.
You're closing the deal.
Yeah.
That bird just kept coming, kept coming, kept coming.
Wow.
It was quite amazing. But then I started to believe. I thought, I think this is going to happen because he is coming.
Right.
And we just stayed with it. And afterwards, I told Manuel, I was like, I'll be honest with you, Manuel. When we set up here, I thought he was crazy. He's like, well, a lot of people that come from Easterns
Yeah.
don't realize how far these birds will come.
Wow.
And then looking at the terrain that bird was in, I'm glad he came to us instead of
You
we
didn't
had
have
to
to
go
go after
I'm
him.
telling you, it would have been torture getting
Oh,
to that
man.
bird because it was on the side of this mountain. It was real rocky,
Uh-huh.
and I don't even know if you could even got.
If he decided to set up and
150
strut, if you
yards.
could have even gotten in.
Yeah, I don't
range.
even know if you could have got there.
Wow.
In any reason, it would have taken you hours.
Yeah,
probably
he'd have been gone and cold
get
by
there.
then.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was glad they came a long way.
No, that's good. Yeah, I'd like to go experience some of that, especially those birds like that, like the Merriams and the Goulds that'll go a long distance. Because you talk about just getting frustrated with a bird. I mean, you set up on a bird, you get within 200 yards of the roost, get a safe distance away, but you always know you need to be kind of on top of them, and call them straight off the roost, gobble gobble, hit the ground, gobble gobble gobble, come into about 175 yards, just over the ridge, just over the hill where you can't see them, and then lock up.
Yeah.
And then you hear them 45 minutes later, a half mile away.
Right.
And with Easterns, I guess that's kind of the thing that keeps me coming back is like sometimes they come right in. I've had birds literally fly off the roost and land where I can see them and
Right.
just walk right up to me.
Right.
But then I've had other times where I could see them on the roost, watch them fly down into a field, gobble for an hour, just gobble their heads off. But literally a field that's 200 yards wide, sit dead in the middle. There's no way to crawl to them. There's no
Yeah.
way to get in gun range. And then walk the only path they could possibly walk in that field to not be within gun range of the tree
Right.
line. And it makes you think, like, I wonder if they actually do get the concept of hunters. Or if they just think something's out there and I'm going to stay in the middle of this place so I can fly away.
Well, what I always remind everybody in that situation is you've got to remember when you are hunting in turkey, you're actually reversing nature.
Right.
And that's something we always forget.
Uh-huh.
Why won't that thing come to me?
Right.
Well,
It's
you're
like he
supposed to
doesn't
go
go
to
to
him.
anything, yeah.
And that's what he may be used to.
Uh-huh.
Maybe the last 8 mornings in a row, hens have came to him.
Uh-huh.
So he's not really
Yeah.
had to,
He hasn't had to pursue anything.
he hadn't had to break the the protocol
Yeah.
and go pursue anything yet. So that's what I've had people tell me, oh, that bird was just out there. He would not come. I said, you know what? Maybe he's spent the last 7, 8, 9 days in a row and he hasn't had to move.
It's not in his nature to come
No.
to you. You're kind of trying to go against what he wants to do.
Right.
I think that's why, although it's dangerous in particular situations, that's why fanning works so well, because it's the only thing that I've seen, which we've fanned up a couple birds, and it's fun, but it's the only thing I've seen where you can just walk out in the middle of a flipping field with a decoy in front of you and go after them. And I had seen a lot of people do it on videos and on whatever, and I never really thought it would work until you experience. I was filming a buddy of ours who's our DP when we film bigger stuff, and I was like, here, man, take this full strut decoy and let's go out and get that bird. And he literally got to within 40 yards. He missed the bird when he shot at it, but that wasn't the bird's fault. But I was like, I'd never thought that would work. Until I saw it for myself, I never would have thought that worked. Of course, don't do it on public land. It's not a great idea, but it's got its own situation where it works. But I don't know, it's just one of those things that just like sounds crazy. And how did it take us 80, 100 years to figure that out?
Yeah.
Nobody really did that until the last 5 years or so. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you can do this with turkeys too. It's like, how did no one try that in the last 50 years even, when turkey hunting's really gotten popular?
They're scared.
Well, I've only done it once or twice, and it is, even on private land, you're thinking, I wonder if somebody's in the edge of the woods over there, like can't see past it.
Some of the private land I have, we have trespassers.
Yeah, we get that some here.
So, I haven't tried that just for that simple fact that there's a level of danger.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know. I often thought that I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't become illegal someday.
It probably will. It probably will. Or there'll be some sort of regulation on it. I mean, I definitely would never do it on public land. I would never even attempt it. But we've done it a few times on private with some success. But it was on private in areas where you couldn't have, it's literally walking out in the middle of the field.
Right.
Nobody would have been in range to shoot you.
Right.
It's that kind of stuff. I would never walk through thick woods coming up on a turkey with a full strut decoy in front of me and not assume something bad was probably going to happen.
Right.
So, well, I mean, what are you working on now? You got the interchangeable paddle system, the patent. It's Nightingale is making a couple calls with it now. What are you working on now? Anything you can tell us about? Or
we still have the stabilizer, which is an adjustable stabilizer, and it adjusts from 4 inches to 9 inches and has a Picatinny rail. So we still got the camera mounts, and we have that on our website, reengineeringthehunt.com. And I'm working on actually two turkey calls now. I can't really disclose too much.
Right.
That are I'm going to say innovative in nature, kind of like the interchangeable paddle system that we developed. I'm working on those now, and I'll probably shop that to Nightingale first, and see if they want to license that as well. That's a pretty good conduit for me to move those products to. I mean, they. Obviously I'm signing a royalty, so I'm getting only a percentage versus selling the whole thing, but
you're also not having to deal with the manufacturing of the thing and the marketing and all that.
And they already
stuff.
have streams into Bass Pro Shop and Dick's, and I already have the marketing stream in place. So, we're small enough. I still have a full-time job, so if I can flow products to companies like that, innovative ideas, and just take a royalty and walk away, a little piece of the pie is better than no piece of the pie trying to get the whole pie.
Well, and it also, if nothing else, which it would be more, I would imagine it'd be more than that, but if nothing else, it scratches that itch of wanting to have a really good idea and think somebody needs to make this. Like, oh, I can make this, and like make it and then see it go to market and people actually use it in the field, which is the main goal, I guess, when you're trying to get a product out the door, whether you make it yourself or whether you're having somebody else make it is.
Because that's not really where my desire is. My desire is more coming up with a cool idea, figuring out how to do the engineering on it, and I do engineering and manufacturing all the time, and I like that. But once it becomes a product, it's like, hey, that's cool, and I show it to buddies. They're like, yeah, that's cool. From there on, I don't enjoy much of it.
Doing it out of necessity.
Right. Trying to market, running a website. There was a part of me that didn't really enjoy doing the show.
Right.
I mean, I like to talk to people, but trying to push a product and explaining it over, and,
Right.
and you have to come down, you set the booth up, you're here a day early, it's a lot of work. Not that work, I'm scared of work or anything like that, but
Right.
but they're just dealing with the money, and then you got to just all that logistics of doing the show. I didn't enjoy that at all.
Right.
At all. Matter of fact, I almost despised it. but meeting people like you,
You're fine.
meeting people like you at the show, was the good part of it.
Right.
I did enjoy that aspect of it. But you have people come up, like even the interchangeable paddle. I had 2 different people come up to me and say I stole their idea. It's like, you got to deal with people like this sometimes.
I had that
It's
idea
like,
15 years ago. Really?
Yeah,
Why
it's
didn't you
like,
make
okay,
it?
well, that's weird because there was no patent on it, and I never saw it, and I
have
have a
that.
patent now. Stuff like that just kind of wears you out.
Yeah.
But you got that anytime you deal with the public.
Yeah, well, that's just like, on a side of things that I'm not much involved with anymore, but by proxy, I have a lot of family members and friends, and the music industry is very similar. It's like, write a hit song, gets released, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, man, I wrote that song in 97.
Yeah.
Like, really? Why was it never released, or why do you not have a recording of it? Or,
Right.
oh, no, it's somewhere. I wrote that. You stole that from me. Really, how would I have ever heard that?
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same thing. Like, really, you made that box call. So something you made how would I go in your garage and see that that's something that you made?
Yeah.
So people are, and along that same line, are wanting to get their piece of the pie, and they feel like they've been done an injustice when somebody gets to something they did before they did.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
No, and it's plausible that 2 people could have the same idea.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying even that person that maybe they did make something similar.
If it's a great idea, there's
possible.
a good chance somebody else thought of it too, because it's something that's needed. It just depends on who actually goes out and executes it first.
Right.
Really, is what it comes down to.
Right. But I didn't copy it off of them, but, by no stretch of the imagination, because I have had a couple of ideas that honestly I had never seen before, and went into the patent database, and there was a patent on it, and I thought it was as unique as the day was long. And it's like, wow. And I thought it was a great idea, and I thought it was a great product, and then it's like, wonder why.
Somebody's already.
Because I tell you what, to some point, coming up with the idea and building the product's the easiest part.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of it is tough, real tough. I mean,
Yeah.
I've figured that out. So, I had a lot of people tell me, like, even going back to the box call, they're like, oh, that's a great idea, you ought to sell them. And it sounds easy.
Yeah.
But the you ought to sell them part is pretty tough. Real tough.
Well, it sounds like you've hit kind of a nice niche in it, where you get, like I said, you get to scratch that itch of getting to come up with something and getting to put a great idea out to the public. And in this way, you get to put it out into the public and to consumers in a much broader spectrum, because you've gotten somebody that has an avenue into all the major sporting goods stores, have website and online retail and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you get to get your ideas to where people can use them and actually enjoy them and benefit from them, without having to deal with all the back end hassle that you had to when you were making everything yourself.
And it's it's a tougher world now to get a product in a store than it was.
Yeah.
I had just for instance, a lot of the companies are actually owned by a bigger company. Even Night and Hell is actually owned by Pradco Outdoor Brands.
Right.
Pradco Outdoor Brands. They have Turkey Calls. They have the Night and Hell brand. They also own Summit.
Right.
They also own Moultrie, Code Blue Lures. So for a little guy like me to think that I'm going to be able to get my call into Bass Pro Shop and push Night and Hell off the shelf is pretty tough, because they're branded. And to a big store, that's what matters. It almost really doesn't matter, even if the people think your call's better. If Bass Pro Shop even thought my call was better, they're going to say, yeah, but you're just not Night and Hell.
Right.
And that's just the reality.
We know these will sell.
Right. And that's what people, whether it be a Primos or a Michael Waddell or somebody like that involved, that's what they're looking for.
Right.
And sometimes the best products don't get on there just because they're not branded.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of another reality of the situation. Not saying it's impossible.
Right.
I'm not saying that you can't do that, but even those stores now want to deal with fewer buyers. They don't want a call from me and a call from you. They want to just go to a Pradco and say, fill my deer hunting,
Fill our department.
shelves with tree stands and mulch tree products. Fill my turkey calls, shelves up.
It's less work for them.
Exactly.
With the same outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, I'm glad you were able to sit down with me. I appreciate you taking the time.
All right.
Where can people find you online? What's the best way to see what you got?
Reengineeringthehunt.com.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, go check him out, and thanks for listening. You can get us on Facebook, Instagram. Just search Double Trouble Hunting, iTunes, Amazon Play, Podbean, and something else. Just search Hunt Nashville, and then go to dthunting.us and find our podcast and stuff. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Thank you.